Welcome everyone into the Sons of Saturday podcast. My name is Pat Finn. I am still in Utah here. It is dumping snow out my window. Hopefully, I can get out there over the next few days. We got Nels Williams. Nels, where are you at right now?
I'm in the beautiful Blacksburg, Virginia. Not any snow, but it is cold. It was raining earlier, but apparently we're about to get hit with like a 70-degree day, like 4 day streak before we're going back to the cold. So you know how it is, Pat. The weather's pretty irregular here.
It's gonna say there's nothing like that late February, late March tease right
Hmm.
before spring break, right after spring break. You get a few days over 60 degrees. Everyone, to hell with class. We're gonna go hang out and just enjoy a nice day outside. And then all of a sudden you get whacked. You just
It's like
absolutely
it's like you
ambushed.
drive by Roanoke Street Apartments. Everybody's in their hammocks tanning. Like everyone's playing spike ball. It's like what the ads for Virginia Tech like show off like what college is really going to be. And then the next day is like 20 degrees and a wind advisory.
All of a sudden, you're unpacking your winter clothes again, and spring game comes around, and you got cold and rainy in the forecast. Now, last year that didn't happen. I know the last couple of years the spring game weather's been pretty good, but has been notorious to be a little rainy on spring game. Knock on wood, Nels, that there is no rain in the forecast next month. We're going to kick things off with a Hokie haiku. I wrote this a few minutes ago. It is about our Lady Hokies advancing over this past weekend, get to host two games in Castle Coliseum. It was loud, it was rowdy, it was raucous. But here's the haiku. Ladies got the Vols, big tilt up in Seattle. 2 wins till the 4. 2 wins away from the Final Four. Nels Williams, how are you doing? And let's back up. First of all, Nels Williams, a proper introduction. This is his first time on the Sons of Saturday podcast. Nels, you've been working with Sons of Saturday for almost a year now, since the beginning of the academic year. It's been great having you aboard as a student intern, doing a ton of stuff, whether it's social media content with our athletes for Roots Rapid Fire every week of football season in the fall, whether it was creating TikTok content here and there, some nice short content. Nels edits the Sons of Saturday website, puts out a ton of the Sons of Saturday content that you guys see gracing your Twitter feeds and your computer screens on a day to day. And Nels was also the men's basketball beat writer for this past season. He also works at ESPN Blacksburg, where he is, what is it, 3 times a week?
Weekday, every day.
Every day. There are no days off for Nels, but welcome to the show. Did I miss anything? What else? I know you've been doing a lot. You've been wearing a lot of hats.
I'm in 3304 Sports as well, sports media program. So I do some stuff with them. Mainly it's the 1-2 punch of the Suns and ESPN Blacksburg, which ESPN Blacksburg, it's basically just a class. I'm there every weekday, 4 to 6. If you want to listen, it's online at just espnblacksburg.com. But I'm here for the Suns though today. You know what I mean? I'm putting on the Sons of Saturday hat, not the ESPN Blacksburg one. But I keep myself busy. Especially when it came to covering men's basketball. That was a lot of fun.
There you go. It's all about repetition, Nels. How'd you hear about the 3304 and the SMA program? Was that something you always wanted to do, or did you just have an idea of it when you were in high school, or kind of tell us the high level of that if you wouldn't mind?
So basically, I knew that I'd always wanted to go into journalism. My aunt was the former or previous director of communications for USA Basketball, and my mom is actually an editor for, or was an editor for USA Today's magazine. She works as an editor for AARP Online now. So growing up, I was really exposed to a lot of that. Like whenever I'd visit my aunt, she lives out in Colorado Springs, and she would show me around the Olympic Training Center, show me what she do, and I grew up playing a lot of sports. I swam, played lacrosse, dabbled in football as well, and just I was always I always knew that I wanted to do something into covering journalism or sports in a way. And then I toured Virginia Tech when I was a sophomore in high school. I'm a junior now, and they had just started. Or like the SMA program was in its infancy, and so they said, "Hey, like you want to come here? Definitely. We're trying to kickstart the SMA program." But I didn't apply in under that. I actually applied just under communications because I still was like, oh, maybe PR, maybe journalism. And then after my freshman year, I joined 3304 Sports late my freshman year because former sports director's his friend, Jake Lyman. I happened to run into him one day, not Jake, but his friend, and he said, join the Slack, join the chat, I'll give you Jake's number. Jake right now is currently the women's basketball play-by-play of Vanderbilt. So he's at a big boy job, but when he was here, he was the sports director. And he did a pretty good job with it. And then that's how I got involved. And then through my experience, 3304 came into the Suns, and now I hit the ground running.
There you go. You've been doing a lot for us, man. What would you say is your favorite piece of content or series, or anything that you've kind of put in your portfolio the last 10 or so months?
Oh man, that thing is that there's so much. You know what I mean? Like Roots Rapid Fire was definitely up there because one, it was free food. Like I felt like the man walking in there and being like, I'm part of this on Saturday, and then two, like because of that, I got to like actually like get to know athletes on a personal level, and like a lot of people, especially students, put athletes on a higher pedestal because like they'll like zip around on scooters, they got the backpacks, but they're just people. At the end of the day, they're just people. You know what I mean? And like it got to the point where I'd just be like, yeah, like, I'm interviewing Liz Keeley this week. My friends, their jaws are dropped. They'd be like, Liz Keeley, I want to meet her. I'm like, yeah, she's a really cool person. She likes to read books. Like I was like it got me just like, I was just so unfazed. I was just like, oh yeah, like it's Liz Keeley, it's Story Powell, it's Dax, whatever, So that was a lot of fun. But I got to mention covering men's basketball. Being on press row, it's funny. Shout out Brian Cox, SID for men's basketball. The front row is like Tech Sideline, Tech Lunch Pail, 3304, Collegiate Times. It's like all like students on the front row. And then the back row is like where the big boys hang out. So I'd be like maneuvering my way by like David Teal, Mike Barber, Mark Berman. I'd just be like, what's up, guys? You know what I mean? I felt like such a small fish in just this pond of years upon years of basketball like knowledge and experience. And at times I did get imposter syndrome because like I would literally be sitting next to David Teal, or like he'd be a few seats away, or like Mike Barber would show up, or a lot of the away teams as beat writers would show up. And I met the guy from Syracuse, met the guy from Pitt. I don't recall their names because I was just I don't recall the names because it's just a very brief encounter. The coolest was his first name is Gene. I don't remember his last name, but he works for the Washington Post. And when he said he works for the Washington Post, I was like, oh, I'm Nels Williams with the Suns this Saturday. You know what I mean? And it was just the dichotomy of us sitting right next to each other was just hilarious. But still had a great time. Still, kept my composure, and covering men's basketball is an absolute blast. Sucks the season didn't turn out the way that it did, but I'm so proud of him. And also, like establishing the connections with the players and the coaches was really cool as well.
Love it, man. It's a ton of fun. I'm glad Brian put you up there with the big dogs. So, Nelson. So if you're listening, Nelson's like six. What are you, 6'4"?
I'm like 6'4", 6'5". Yeah.
Nelson's a big guy. So, they had to put him up there with the tenured big dogs up on press row. But Nels, we're fired up that you've been having a good time doing that, and love the opportunity to give opportunities to students who have talent and who are excited to write stories and put their own pieces of content out there. So what we're going to talk about here, we'll talk about a few things. There's a few Hokie headlines that we can get to at the end. Nels brought you on today to talk about your experience at the ACC tournament. Know that you were on the beat for Sons of Saturday at the ACC tournament, hanging out there with 3304. And, it looked like a great time. I know it was a grind. I know you were there all week long on your spring break, where myself and, some of the other folks on our end might have been in Key West or Punta Cana. Nels Williams was in Greensboro.
The beaches in Greensboro are beautiful, by the way.
Meet any chicks?
I mean, I ran into a few cheerleaders here and there.
There you go. You go. So, okay, first of all, just shed a little bit of light on 3304 and the group that you were with, chopping it up with every single day. What was the vibe? How'd you get there? Who'd you carpool with? What was the story?
So I actually drove down myself, but the 3304 guys is essentially like the leadership team and one or two other guys who like are essentially like they're basically the all-star team. You know what I mean? It's like the best of the best get picked to go to this for a reason. So there's a few guys in Tech Sideline. I know Tech Lunch Pail was there, and one other. I think Collegiate Times is there too. So we had a few other guys like all down there, and it was essentially just like when like all work, somewhat play. Media hospitality afterwards was play. But like when we were in that Coliseum, it was like all work. And those guys, like we essentially worked every game. We had broadcast crews for the game. We had people writing about every game. Obviously, when Virginia Tech was playing, we were all heads down covering those games. But then after Virginia Tech got bounced, I had the decision to go home. All the other guys were just like, we're just going to stay. So I decided to stay. Initially, I was going to leave, most likely just, hopefully do early checkout. But then I stayed, and I'm so thankful that I did. Because let me tell you, that place was, even though it's Greensboro, North Carolina, it was really cool. The Coliseum was really cool, decked out in the ACC stuff. I went to the ACC Hall of Fame. And it was like an experience I'll never forget because literally, I don't know if you know who Luke Hancock is. He's a former George Mason basketball and Louisville basketball player. He was like my idol growing up. Like, I'm from Fairfax, Virginia, Chantilly area. We had season tickets going to George Mason, and like the heyday of that like Patriots program was with Jim Larinaga before he went to Miami. That's where he was at before he went to Miami, and Luke Hancock. And like I don't remember what they did in like the NCAA tournament, but Hancock was like my favorite player. Everyone after he was like he was a diet Hunter Couture. He was basically what Hunter Couture was for George Mason, and he then went to Louisville, won a natty, but then he was there. I didn't know he was going to be there until like I stumbled upon like on the For You page of Twitter, like the ESPN PR, where they're going to be like, oh, it's like these analysts, these panelists, whatever. And I saw Luke Hancock, and I was like, I got to meet him. So I found him on the court, shook his hand. He was like, no way. And then actually after the championship game, we were all on the court, like doing like reports and stand-ups, and he happens to walk down, and I was like, I got to interview him. So I pulled him aside and I interviewed him. I don't remember anything that I said. I literally blacked out. I do remember when the red light came on the camera, I just froze for a few seconds because I was like, what do I say? I was like, I got Luke Hancock next to me. But then I just like did it. And I, interviewed him. And then afterwards it was over. And I was like, this is like the greatest week of my life. And it did suck seeing people like from like Key West and like, Punta Cana and like Panama City Beach, whatever, like all like partying and stuff like that. But it was so worth it. Got like no sleep. Like we were basically working from like 1 o'clock in the afternoon to like 2, 3 in the morning. I don't think I went to bed before 2 or 3 in the morning at all. But I would like, I'm so glad I went because I know that if I was like Key West, I'd just be sitting at the bar like, man, why am I not there? That was an awesome experience. I got to thank y'all for taking me. Thank y'all for having my credential under the Sons of Saturday.
Love it, man. Well, Luke Hancock, big fan of Luke Hancock on the Sons of Saturday. He came on the show. I guess it was in late fall of 2021, and he said he predicted Virginia Tech to win the ACC in the regular season. And as it turned out, that did not happen. We had a very much a middle of the road season, got hot at the end. And then all of a sudden, 4 nights in Brooklyn and we're cutting down the nets and holding up the trophies. But Luke Hancock had a lot of faith in that team. He knows he knew that Virginia Tech was going to be special at some point of the season, and they definitely were. Love his stuff on ACC Network. Does a really great job. And also Evan Massengill, if you're listening, if you know who Evan Massengill is of the Hokie Club, I know him and Luke Hancock are very good friends. So shout out to Evan there. So one of my questions here, Nels, regarding the experience, most famous person you met. I think that's Luke Hancock. I don't know if you got to chop it up with anyone else or, pass anyone else in the hallway, but I guess other casts of characters who were in Greensboro for that week, anyone that you were just like, oh my gosh, you tapped your buddy on the shoulder. Look who it is.
Reese Davis for sure. I didn't get to meet him, But I was literally like on my phone, and the way that it worked was it always shows a little tunnel, and you go into the court or like the little like walkway between the court and the stands. And the where ESPN was set up was like right by that tunnel. Like if the tunnel like walked in here, like it was like right, like as soon as you came out to the right. And I was like going down the stairs to get to the tunnel, and I turned the corner, and it's just Reese Davis. And I'm like halfway on my phone, and I just like look up, and I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, wait, what? Because I didn't know that ESPN was there. It was all ACC network for like the first 2 or 3 days, and then ESPN college basketball showed up for like Champ Week or whatever they branded. So walking by Reese Davis, like locking eyes for it with him, I was like, what? But Bill Roth put on a student panel, which is awesome. And he got Dave O'Brien. I don't know his last name, but it's Jordan something. He played Notre Dame. He played for Notre Dame in the mid 2000s.
Yes,
And
last name. He's
yeah,
on ACC Network too.
yeah, they got like guys like that as well as a few other prominent members in the media. And afterwards, they had a little session, and we were able to talk to him. So I got to talk with Dave O'Brien, and I got to talk with a few other people. But definitely, most like famous interaction was Luke Hancock and like Kelsey Riggs, basically an ACC Network crew. Like one night, it was me and two other guys, and we were just like on the court, like finishing stand ups. And they just happened to like walk down to the court next to us. We just walked next to him and talked before they split off because they had an ESPN media hospitality room, and we were just going back to like where the shuttles were, and just like walking and talking with them was like crazy. Because like again, like in my mind, I was like, well, these are just people, you know what I mean? But one of the guys we were with, he like it was internally was like freaking out, and I remember one of the guys said to him like, "Hey, great stuff, man! I saw you on the court. I was watching you." And I saw his face just go like, like thanks, like thank you. Like he was composed. He was like, thank you. And then after like we went our separate ways after a minute, like he had 1,000 yard stare for like a minute, and all of a sudden it goes, "Oh my god!" Like I can't believe it. You know what I mean? So that like it was really cool, just like working and like nobody really treated you like a student. Everybody knew that we were students. You know what I mean? We had the Virginia Tech Mike flags. Like we were all just like flocked together. We stuck out like a sore thumb. But in that situation and in that environment, like people knew that we were just there to do work, and everyone was like there to do work. So that was really cool. And the fact that like we were treated with a little bit more respect than the average student because we were working, but everybody knew we were still students.
So Jordan Cornette is the Notre Dame guy, ACC Network guy, by the way. He's called a handful of games in Blacksburg. I know he called one, at least one this past season. But so Nels, that is pretty cool as far as 3304 and the opportunities that you guys get. Do you see other students from other schools represented as well doing the same work that you were doing? I'd imagine that Syracuse, has some type of a presence there, because what is it, the Newhouse School?
Yeah, Newhouse is basically like on crack. Like they've been doing this for decades. Like they know they're it, and they basically are it. But they were there as well as North Carolina was there. Wake Forest was there. Um, I don't know if there were any others. I know that there were definitely other schools, but like we didn't run into them. But one more guy. I got to give a shout out to my guy Luke von Berg. He works for the ESPN Netherlands, and my seat was right next to him. So obviously, when I sat down, I introduced left and right, but I realized the person to my left was he was either Hokie Haven or like Collegiate Times, so I knew him. Look to my right, look at the little nameplates, ESPN Netherlands. And he was there for Quentin Post at Boston College. There was one player on the bench in Miami who was Dutch, and so it was weird. I just kept running into him everywhere we went. I'd go get food in like the dining room. He was there. I'd just like pass him in the halls. He would always be there. And he was awesome. He was really cool. Luke, if you're out, I don't think you're listening to this, but I got his email, and he was like, "Hey, listen, like I'm gonna go on a little trip around the East Coast of the United States," because he had an extra week. The ESPN Netherlands was like, "Yeah, go enjoy your time in the States," because that was his first time there. So I sent him an email with a bunch of like TripAdvisor links, and I was like, "Hey, do this in Charleston, do this in DC." And I think he got back to me saying that he was actually going to like think about that. And then it turns out that Kansas State has a player who's Dutch, and Kansas State was in Greensboro, so he just had to stay there. Unfortunately, couldn't do his little trip around the states, but just cool little interactions like that, and cool little like relationships to build up. That I'm sure maybe you could get lucky if you run into somebody at a bar or a restaurant in Key West, but nah, it was in Greensboro, so.
Too funny. And that Kansas State player was David Gasson, who had a great game in the round of 32 this past weekend. Former Virginia Tech player.
David Nicasson is Dutch? I didn't realize it was him. He just said, "Oh man, I feel stupid for saying that because I'm the men's basketball beat writer," but I didn't realize he was Dutch. And also, he just said in the email, a Kansas State player, you know what I mean, like is there. So I would not have thought David Nicasson. Wow.
I mean, it's funny too because, you know, obviously, like ever since the beginning of time, really, when we have players transfer out, we follow their careers and kind of, you know, see them progress in the, what could have been. There's all the what ifs, whatever. Most recently Boots and Gasson, but Gasson had a great game. They're in the Sweet 16. They have that one guy that transferred from Florida who just went off this past weekend. But yeah, it is kind of funny to see former Tech players, wearing other uniforms in other places. Wanted to ask about media hospitality. What's going on in there? So ESPN has their own hospitality and then media hospitality, or how's that broken down? What is what's the highs and lows of media hospitality?
So ESPN has their own, and it's like on the surface you'd be like, oh, of course they do. But if you think about it, media hospitality serves like every photographers, videographers, reporters, writers, whatnot. So if they went to like that, like regular media hospitality, which was basically just like a big hotel conference room just filled with chairs, and they had really good food and just a buffet, they would have gotten swarmed. They would not have had any time to like have their own peace and quiet and just like eat and relax. Like even when Jordan Garnett, that's his name, last name.
Yeah, Cornette.
Yeah, Cornette. If even Jordan Cornette, like after all of them left our student media session, which was in the morning and like a few hours before one of the games on day 2, I think it was, they were basically like playing Plinko, just going from one person to a next, like being like, oh, I'm so and so, I'm so and so. So ESPN had their own room in like the back tunnels of the Coliseum, and because the Coliseum was essentially a ring around all the tunnels. They had a little area section off for that, and obviously I didn't go in. I just passed by it, but they had just a little like break room and whatnot. But for us, it was there's a little snack bar area like right by the entrance. It's like a two-minute walk. Had popcorn, fruits, snacks, waters, even had ice cream, funnily enough. And then about 30-second minute walk away down a longer hall was this bigger room, and they had times posted where you could get lunch and dinner. And then after the last game, like directly after or a few minutes after the final buzzer, they had like a late night snack of like chicken nuggets, like, stuff like that. So media hospitality was great. I'm not going to lie. And then they had yeah, I mean, it was great. Like, and it was a little odd again, because like I'm a student and like everybody else in there. I mean, we probably brought the median and mean age down by like 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? And like it was a little weird, like a little bit like trying to find a table. And I sat with my boy Luke from ESPN Netherlands a few times, but just other times locking eyes with like 67-year-old people, and there was an open seat. I was like, I don't know. It was a little intimidating. It was a little intimidating, I'm not going to lie, but overall media hospitality was great.
All right. So what was the best moment for you, over that 5-day stretch in Greensboro? Best moment personally, or best moment just like in competition, like something that you saw on the hardwood that you thought was, an awesome moment?
Personally, it had to have been interviewing Luke Hancock. Like, if 8-year-old or 9-year-old me knew about I was going to do that, what I mean, he would have like freaked out. But in terms of like, competition or just like doing work, it was being able to just walk onto the court after Duke won. Because I had a little like badge, and I have it right here. Hold on. I got this little badge that literally just ACC tournament, like Nels Williams. This thing is like your golden ticket. You go anywhere with that. And even though some of like the security people like definitely were looking at us a little funny, like we were able to go pretty much anywhere. And like even when most of us and eventually all of us walked down to the court, like the people who linked their arms to make sure nobody else rushed the court, just the Red Sea open and we were like on, So definitely seeing that angle of the like celebration and seeing the players, I was literally like 4 feet away from Jeremy Roach getting on the Nets, which is really cool for me because Jeremy Roach went to a high school near me. He went to PVI. So I don't think I've met him before, but just knowing that, like, I know a lot of people know him, and that was really cool. So definitely just being able to be on the court after. And then because I was on the court after, interviewing Luke Hancock.
Love it. Talk to us about the Hunter Couture, Coach Young moment there that Twitter got a hold of. Was that I think that was like day one, right? Was that right at the beginning? Was that in Greensboro?
That was day zero. That was Monday because the tournament was Tuesday to Saturday. That was on practice day. And it was after the practice. Like Mike Young was basically posted up next to a brick wall, like maybe a minute's walk outside into a tunnel. And so we're just standing there like interviewing him, and I feel like everyone's head start to turn and like the attention like whispers like, "Oh my gosh, Couture!" And I look to my left, and he's just like right there next to me. And he pulls out his phone, he turns on his flashlight, and we're all like, "Oh, he's gonna ask a question." And Brian Cox in the background just goes like this in his phone, and I like look at the phone and I'm like, oh boy, like depending on what he's gonna ask, like this is gonna go like everywhere. And then he asked the question, and like I didn't think that I'd be like fully in. I thought it'd be like edited out. And honest to God, I forgot that was even taken. Like I forgot it was because we were so busy and it was so like we got to go here, we got to go here, we got to go here. That completely slipped my mind because I had other work to do, And then all of a sudden, my phone just like blows up, and I'm like, what is going on? And then somebody texts me like, dude, like you're on Virginia Tech men's basketball, like their Instagram or whatever, and their Twitter. And I was like, oh, like that's kind of funny. And then during the game or during a timeout, I think it was either the Notre Dame or NC State game. I forget which one they did it. ESPN put it on TV. And so I'm just like sitting there, like like writing on my tweet for like the break. All of a sudden, the top right-hand corner of my MacBook is just flooding back and forth of just like different people messaging me. Like my Instagram, Twitter, whatnot was like, dude, it's Nels. Like he's on ESPN. And I literally like went out loud like an oh no, like this in the press show. And everyone just like turned and looked at me like, dude, what's going on? And I go and I'm like, man, I'm on ESPN. That looks stupid. Because like I thought I was just like smiling because like Couture showed up, but I looked like a kid in the candy store seeing Couture just like show up over my shoulder. At least that's how I appeared off. I was like, oh, this is funny, but like I appeared, I was like, I was cheesing at Hunter Couture. So that's how that happened. And then obviously they lost to NC State. So like I couldn't really like say anything about it to them. So that's the story of that though, which was again, it was funny. I hope it's not the last time I'm on ESPN, but it was most certainly the first.
Fantastic. Let's take a quick break. All right, Nels, before we wrap, we got a couple Hokie headlines that we do want to tackle. Actually, most of this is from today. So, without further ado, the most relevant thing right now is our women's basketball team. They are on a heater. I think they've won 12, maybe 13 in a row, starting to lose count over here. Took care of business on Friday, took care of business on Sunday. And they'll be headed up to Seattle to take on the Tennessee Vols in the Sweet 16. Now, this NCAA tournament, Indiana's out. There's so between Tech and South Carolina, there's only 2 1 seeds who are left in the tournament. But I mean, it's been pretty exciting to watch this team. I know, seeing Castle Coliseum just absolutely erupt, both days of the weekend was incredible. Were you in attendance?
I was in attendance on Sunday, but not Friday. I went to UVA for the weekend. Sorry, I know, but my friend's 21st went up for that. But I made sure to go to Sunday. I said, sorry guys, I got to leave Sunday. Women's basketball's playing, and being on the press row, right courtside was awesome. I mean, I was able to watch most of the Chattanooga game on Friday, and I am so glad that they had that game because they had over like a week of basketball off before that game, and that's why they didn't look great. They still won in the end, but in the first like half, it took them a while to get adjusted. And everyone was kind of like, or everyone in the media room was like, well, let's see how like they come out. They were a little rusty. Like now that they're really like back to their true form, let's see how they come out today. And that first half was an offensive clinic. Like my friend texted me, was like, dude, like South Dakota State looks like a JV team right now, playing against like a varsity. But the JV team doesn't have the like, yeah, like it was literally like a clinic. In the second half, that was interesting. And here's where I'm going to go with this about the game on Saturday. The second half, and this has been a recurring theme from the team up until like this point, is that a lot of times they'll put their foot on the gas against these teams such as South Dakota State or teams at lower levels, and they'll start to slowly ease their foot off of it. The offense isn't getting their usual points. The defense is letting up a few, I wouldn't say easy shots, but the defense is kind of letting up a little bit. And you could tell that a lot of people were going to be anxious inside the Castle. South Dakota State was slowly but surely chipping the way back, and they got back within 10. That's when everyone was like, is this happening? But, of course, this team, as elite as they are, was able to lock back in and find a way to win. And they won by 12. And it felt like they should have won by 24, double 12. But because they've had that issue where they slowly let their foot off the gas a little bit, they ended up just winning by 12. So on Saturday, I'm really intrigued about this matchup because they played before in Rocky Top or on Rocky Top. It's kind of like Long Island where it's like, if it's like on or in. But they won in Knoxville barely. Like that went down to like the final seconds. And I remember they had something to do with the shot clock or something. So that was like a weird game. But Tennessee knows Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech knows Tennessee. And Tennessee isn't a team like South Dakota State, with all due respect, where you can just blow right by them, do that kind of lead. So I'm a little nervous heading into Saturday, mainly because both teams have film on each other. But the good thing as well is that both teams have film on each other, and they've seen each other play as well. And also the fact that Tennessee beat Toledo like 94 something. They put up 94. That's not an easy feat to do. The fact that they put that much up against Toledo in the round of 32 has me a little concerned, but obviously I think the Hokies are going to come out on top.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. These two teams are completely different than what they saw earlier in the season. I remember watching that game at Sharkies before we went to I think it was the Carolina game, the men's game back in December.
It might have been. I know it was in December. And I remember there was a point where people were leaving to go watch on the screens, like on the ACC network screens, because they had it on around the concourse. I know it was during a men's basketball game, though.
Yeah. So Sunday, we take care of business ultimately. Georgia hits that 3 late. She had 7 threes. Like, hearing Coach Brooks in pressers is fantastic. I mean, I'm a huge Mike Young press conference guy. I love Brent Pryce press conferences. I absolutely love Kenny Brooks, whether it's in a presser or whether it is, getting interviewed on the court after the interview or after the game ends. But after beating South Dakota State, he said, we're good. And that's not being overzealous. We're good. Elizabeth is an All-American. Georgia is an All-American. Taylor Soule got us over the hump with her play. Kayana Traylor, which she sacrificed to be in this program. Kayla King, a staple of what we've been doing. And, of course, Deasia Gregg. I love how we've been connected and we knew how good we could be. And, it's truly inspiring. I think the whole Tennessee thing is funny, too, because Tennessee has always been on the top of the mountain. They've been, Tennessee, UConn, they're pretty much the two most well-known, powerful women's basketball programs. And the fact that we're going to play them again in Seattle, of all places, I don't know how the heck they pick Seattle when most of the schools, who are going to be going out there are from the East Coast. But it should be a battle. Should be a lot of fun. There's a video that surfaced yesterday. One of the, I believe one of the guys at one of the Roanoke radio or news stations pulled it from 1999, the last time Tech played in the Sweet 16. It was against.
Yep, it was Anthony Romano.
Anthony Romano is always getting the good video nuggets. He's always filming the good nuggets on the court as well. So shout out Anthony Romano. But there was a press conference where one of the Virginia Tech players is talking about how one day, we'd love our program to be like Tennessee's program. I think we were the 4 seed. Tennessee was the 1. And now we're the 1 seed. Tennessee is the 4. So, we're kind of doing a little flip flop, and our program has been better this year. And, we proved we were the better team on Rocky Top earlier in the year, but should be an absolute battle on Friday night. I believe it's at 6:30 Eastern. What are you doing for the game, Nels?
I'll definitely be watching it for sure. I mean, it's not often, men's basketball is not there. Like women's basketball is legit. Every Virginia Tech fan that doesn't have anything going on at 6:30 has to be supporting that team. Put all force behind this team because there is a good shot that this team will be in Dallas for the women's Final Four. This team is special. Um, this team is like fun to watch. It's not even like Virginia Tech is playing boring basketball with like a trap or anything like that, or like just like how other teams do it. This team is fun. Georgia Amore is fun to watch. She chucks up threes like there's no tomorrow. And you mentioned she made 7. She attempted 19, which is the second most threes attempted in any game in Virginia Tech history. That's one behind Aisha Shepard, set like 2-3 years ago. Like this team has 2 All-Americans. Like Taylor Soule is awesome. Like there's so much you can talk about this team. Put all your force behind them. Like if this team makes the Final Four, I want everyone to be rushing Main Street like we did after winning the ACC tournament. I'm not endorsing that if the kids get in any trouble, but I want people to be celebrating like that. Be happy for this team because this team deserves it. And I'm so glad the castle is packed on Sunday and Friday because this team deserves all of it.
Absolutely. A lot of good storylines. You got a hell of a coach. You got 2 All-Americans. You got a lot of good personality. And I cannot be more excited for this weekend. Moving over to the gridiron. Davi Belfort committed to Virginia Tech today. 3-star. Some sites he's a 4-star. I'm reading the On3 where he's rated as a 3-star. Committed today. He is from Fort Lauderdale, went to Gulliver Prep, and he is the first commit of the 2024 class. Had a handful of Blacksburg visits. The most recent one was on January 21st. He attributed everything to the coaching staff and getting close to the coaching staff, having a great relationship with Tyler Bowen, having a great relationship with Coach Pry, communicating back and forth, 3 times a week. And Belfort was between Virginia Tech, Michigan State, and Texas A&M. I committed probably like an hour ago. Have not gotten to meet him. Obviously, I haven't gotten to meet him. Haven't gotten to watch his film yet, Nels. But I do know that we are starting to really bring in a revolution of famous MMA or UFC, fighters' sons into Blacksburg. Earlier last year, we got the commitment from Brandon Rechsteiner, who is Big Papa Pump's son on the hardwood as a guard. And then now we're getting Vitor Belfort's son, Davi. Vitor Belfort is a UFC champion. So I'm excited to see these guys in Castle Coliseum and Lane Stadium. We are starting this new pipeline. I don't know anything about UFC, MMA, that kind of stuff, but I know a lot of people are excited about it. So therefore, I am equally excited. Any immediate thoughts, Nels?
I mean, my first immediate thought is I'm happy he's here. When your Final 3 is Texas A&M, Michigan State, and then Virginia Tech, for the past few seasons that Virginia Tech has had comparative to Texas A&M, Michigan State, which I know that they've had their bumps in the road, especially for A&M last year. And then I don't think Michigan State had that good of a season last year either. For him to choose us over A&M and Michigan State's awesome. But the other thing, if you think a little deeper, is I'm interested to see the competition between him and William Pop Watson. Bringing him on this year, I think he enrolled early. Pretty sure he's already in Blacksburg training with the team. I'm very interested to see. And it feels like obviously the quarterback battles between Kyron Jones and Grant Wells right now for who's going to start come this fall. I feel like after that, it's then for the very younger core, it's going to be between Watson and Belfort. So that's what I'm interested to see. And obviously iron sharpens iron. So I'm hoping that these 2 guys can make the quarterback room better. But already making splashes for 2024, it just feels weird. We just got over 2023. And, I think right now what the coaches have is essentially for recruiting these guys are saying, hey, listen, like come be a part of something special, come build something special. You'll get playing time most likely sooner rather than later, rather than other places. For some recruits that works, some it doesn't. But if these guys are fully buying in to Brent Pry and company's plan, I'm so excited for what the future has to offer.
I will never complain. Excuse me. I will never complain about having too many quarterbacks, Nels. I'll tell you that much. I know our running back room was quite stacked a few years ago as far as just like having, it seemed like 50 guys in there. But the quarterback is the guy touching the ball every single play. He's the most important position on the team. Give me all the quarterbacks, and nice way to kick off the cycle. Last thing here before we move over to Sharky shout-outs. Steph Maddox, Darius Maddox's mom. Thank you at Hokies MBB for your support over the last few months. Hubby returned from medical leave last week. We appreciate the family-first culture and respecting our privacy during a time of uncertainty. It meant the world to us. #grateful. #God's time, not ours. So, Darius Maddox, we don't really know. We haven't known what was going on over the past few months, and it seems like it was a family medical issue with his father. But anywho, happy to hear the good news. It seems like the news is positive right now. And hopefully, signs are pointing to Darius suiting up and joining the team and playing basketball for Virginia Tech next year. I do want to say that the amount of just speculation or naysaying or, just rumor mill, like it just gets so tired between like whatever was going on with Maddox and the Rodney Rice. Like, is this guy even alive? Like, does this guy exist? Like, it's so annoying.
Well, okay, the Rodney Rice not existing was kind of funny. I don't know if anybody actually believed that, but hearing people and looking at the box score edits, that was kind of funny. But obviously, got to be happy that Maddox is, at least Maddox's family is on the better. Which you speak about speculation, there was a whirlwind of stuff, and I was pretty sick of it. So glad to see that he's okay. Glad to see that his dad's okay, and hopefully we can see the guy that literally is the reason why this team won the ACC in 2022 back on the hardwood soon.
Exactly. All right, let's roll into Sharky shoutouts. Nels, do you have anything, anyone, any topic, whatever, anything that you would like to shout out at this time? This is your opportunity.
I mean, I guess I want to say future shout out. Hopefully Juke Harris comes here. I know he's committing Friday, right? I think he's committing Friday.
Yep.
Hopefully he's a Hokie. I got to shout out him. Come on into Blacksburg, man, especially after Swinton just landed here in 2024. There's something special is brewing in Blacksburg. So I got to give a shout out. Hopefully the future Hokie, Juke Harris. I'm hoping he comes here. Besides that, the floor is yours for the shout outs, Pat.
I love it. Love it. Spring game, spring jam. Guys, gals, if you are going to be in town for the spring game weekend, Friday, April 14th, we will be doing spring jam again at McLean's at First and Main. We have some special guests, some special performers going to be loaded up at McLean's at First and Main. We're thinking, I think 8 o'clock to midnight. We got a flyer that's going to be going out. I know we did save the dates. But we're going to have buying tickets in advance too, so you don't have to buy at the door. We're going to put out information on all of that good stuff. Same goes for the For Those to Come golf tournament. If you are looking to play in the For Those to Come golf tournament, I know we're going to have some information go out about that as well. I know maybe some preliminary stuff has gone out, but we'll make sure everyone's covered with all the info that they need for their spring game weekend festivities. Hopefully everyone is making the trip back to Blacksburg. Last year, if you went, it was an absolute blast. Probably the most fun I've ever had at spring game was last year. So mark your calendars, book that hotel room, buy that ticket to spring jam at First and Main, hang out with former Virginia Tech legends, no current players will be there. They'll be in bed before their spring game the next day. But you get the idea. We're going to have a ton of fun. We'll be there, and we hope to see you guys soon.